Caleb sets this one up. He sent this to me. His words, not mine. Okay. Do the Vols actually have a better backfield right now than they did this time last year? That's a what the H?
What the? What was he thinking?
Release the hounds.
The Dave Hooker Show.
Keep cool.
A presentation of offthehooksports.com.
Please hit that like and subscribe button. What the H brought to you by AndyMasonRealEstate.com. AndyMasonRealEstate.com. 40 years of experience, best service, best price in the biz. AndyMasonRealEstate.com. How could this backfield be better last year than one that had a Heisman Trophy candidate and a pretty strong one at that, and Hendon Hooker leading it up? How could this one be better than last year?
All right, Dave. So let's take Joe Milton the last 3 weeks. Alabama, when I feel like he had his resurgence, and then Kentucky and UConn. What would you say the gap in play is those last 3 weeks versus what you saw Hendon Hooker just on a macro scale of last year?
Well, I think Tennessee's entire offense was more explosive. I think he was probably making a considerably amount of better reads than Joe Milton. In-game processing. I think
last 3 weeks, just the last 3 weeks.
I see what you're doing the last 3 weeks, but I still think it would have been 25% better.
Okay, so about 25% better.
Yeah, so letter grade and a half. So if this is a B, he's an A plus. How about that?
All right. So, okay, fair enough. How much better are their running backs? They have the same running backs, but Jalen Wright is significantly better this year than he was last year.
And so is Dylan Sampson, to prove your point.
And Dylan Sampson is too. You're right. I don't think Jabari Small's any worse. Jabari Small was the main running back last year, but he's fallen to third on the depth chart because the other two have just gotten so much better. So when you break that down, I mean, there's an argument that the backfield as a whole is better, isn't there?
There's an argument, but it's the quarterback, obviously, that totes the mail. So at the end of the day, I'd rather be really, really good at quarterback than really, really good at running back, especially we're in a day and age where it seems like you could pick up a running back at the bus station or something nowadays.
But would you rather be really, really good at quarterback and average at running back, or really good at quarterback and really good at running back?
I'm going to lean towards, in today's form of football as we know it, I would always rather be a little bit better at the quarterback position than a lot better at the running back position, right?
Okay, but I mean, if we're doing weights on this, okay, would you say like quarterback versus running back? Would you say it's 100% quarterback versus 0% running back? Or would you say it's like 90% quarterback versus 10% running back if you're comparing backfields as a whole? Like, would you say
backfields all together? I think that 80% to me, in my mind, is quarterback.
Okay, 80% to you is quarterback. I still think it's closer because I think there's such a leap from the gap. The improvement in running back from last year to this year is much more significant than the drop off in quarterback as of right now.
I will give you that for sure. But if you want to talk about the drop off as opposed to the improvement, I give you that. But I'm going to take the guy who was very much in the running to win a Heisman Trophy.
Okay, but let's also bring this up. Now, I got a lot of positives to say about people like Squirrel White and things like that. But Joe Milton played half.
But those other guys, no, go ahead. The other guys are the ones you're going to go after. Go ahead.
Well, no. I'm not going to. Joe Milton played half the year without Cooper Mace, or at least a third of the year without Cooper Mace fully healthy. Joe Milton himself was hurt. That's two things that didn't apply to Hendon Hooker or Cooper Mays last year. And then on top of that, Joe Milton didn't have Jalen Hyatt to throw to this year. And also, Brew McCoy got hurt. The receiver that dictates coverage, as you brought up. I mean, last year, Hooker lost Cedric Tillman, but he still had Brew McCoy and Jalen Hyatt. I mean, let's be honest, Steve, all three of those receivers, you're taking over anybody on Tennessee's roster right now, aren't you?
Yes. And as it proved out, even though Brew McCoy didn't have the big numbers, he had a big impact on that team, which was why it's so heartbreaking for him to suffer a significant loss and be out for a significant injury and be out for the remainder of the season. And again, I think that he said so much about what's right about the transfer portal. I think he got caught up more in a snafu than usually bouncing all around. than he did Caleb, then he wasn't a good guy. So I think Tennessee's fortunate and they'll get another year out of him.
I think so too. I think because of this, because of the way Milton is playing right now, and because of how much better the running backs are, I'm willing to say I would take this backfield at this moment over the backfield Tennessee had last year. And it's close, but I would take this backfield at this moment because I have not seen, for 2 straight weeks, I haven't really seen anything bad about Joe Milton's play. I saw a couple of bad misses against in the red zone against Alabama. I'll admit that. But 2 weeks in a row, I mean, he's been as good as Hooker was in his best moments last year, honestly. And
so you're telling me over the past 3 weeks, they're as good as they are in the backfield last year, and you had a Heisman candidate back there.
I'm telling you over the last 3 weeks, they are better in the backfield than they were last year. Yes, I'm saying that. I'm not saying Joe Milton is better than Hendon Hooker, but I'm saying Joe Milton is close enough to Hendon Hooker.
Are you telling me if you could flip those backfields out, you feel better or worse about Tennessee's chances at Missouri? Better or worse?
Worse. I don't think they'd be able to run the ball as well against Missouri as they're going to be able to run the ball this weekend against Missouri.
Oh, I think they'd find a way.
I'm just saying. And also, by the way, running the ball, now that Joe Milton is playing physical and lowering his shoulder, I can't believe I'm saying this. I wouldn't have said this 3 weeks ago. Joe Milton has become a better runner than Hendon Hooker the last 3 weeks. You got to give me that, Dave.
I still would take the on-field presence, and I don't think that's even close, though. That's the problem that we're constantly running into, is there is innate on-field presence. Am I wrong, guys? I mean,
Cooper Mays is that on-field presence, and he's on the field right now. And he was on the field I said Cooper Mays is that on-field presence, and he was last year. And also, Joe Milton's leadership is it's different, but we never questioned that compared to Hendon Hooker.
So are you basically arguing this, that without a Cooper Mays injury, this offense is as good as last year or comparable to the 2022 season?
Comparable. Without a Cooper Mays injury, this offense is I'm not going to say actually, no, I won't go there, because the reason is there were some other issues. It wasn't just a Cooper Mays injury. It was a Joe Milton injury. It was a Dante Thornton injury. It was the lack of Jalen Hyatt and then Brew McCoy injury. There've just been a lot more. There've been a lot more bad breaks. We have to acknowledge this, even if we think Hendon Hooker is better than Joe Milton. Hendon Hooker had a lot more things go his way last year than Joe Milton has had go his way this year, and outside of what they did themselves. Can we at least agree with that?
Yes, I can roll with that. And Rocky Top Tom says this: it's so simple, and yet it's beat to death. Joe Milton, a 6-year senior, is not as good overall as Nico, a freshman, but he has improved greatly this year because he has been given the chance to improve. Well, there's a whole lot more truth to that than a lot of people think. Just being given the chance to take snaps in a college football game is the only way you're going to get better at playing a college football game. I mean, you have to go out there and get repeated snaps. Things have to go bad for you. Things have to go good for you. And if you don't do that, you're going to struggle long term. And I think that Tennessee has seen times under this offense where they've started to struggle like that, and they've been able to pull out of it for the most part. Do they pull out of one or two more? If we're still trying to make that comparison between last year's backfield and this year's backfield, I'm going to say yes, that they pull out of so they're better with last year's backfield. But you're taking.
I mean, we are still looking at the potential of this team finishing with the same record that they had last year, and the same result that they had last year. Okay. You haven't ruled out them beating Georgia at home, and I don't think either of us are ruling them out them beating Missouri. So I think we're looking at this team with the prospect of them finishing with the exact same record as last year. And also, by the way, the loss is not even being as bad, because the Florida loss this year is no worse than the South Carolina loss was last year.
Rocky Top Tom has some thoughts in your comments about Joe Milton's running ability. Do you want to read that? If you're on YouTube, hit like and subscribe.
Rocky Top Tom says, in no way in a frozen hell is Joe Milton a better runner than Hendon Hooker. But Rocky Top Tom, what about the last 3 weeks with Joe Milton more lowering his shoulder and being 240 pounds and able to, when you watched Hendon Hooker run last year, you still kind of held your breath because he was a little bit more finesse. You didn't want him to get hurt. When you watch Joe Milton run this year and see him truck over a guy, you don't have any worry that he's not going to get up and be fine.
Yeah. But I thought Hendon Hooker was also, for the most part, good at going down. I don't think you ever want your quarterback hit. I don't care if one day there's the Shaquille O'Neal of quarterbacks, and he's 7 foot tall and 350 pounds and runs a 4.4. I do not want him lowering his shoulder and hitting people. Slide, get out of bounds. There's no reason to get. I mean, there's absolutely no reason to get hurt half the time. And it ends up with a guy trying to be tough and doesn't want his toughness questioned. Don't you think that guys should just slide or get out of bounds 90% of the time?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm friends with a lot of Washington fans, and they are mad to this day that RG3 never learned how to slide. Like I think that Washington hired some players from the Nationals to come teach RG3 how to slide.
Yeah, I mean, there's this used to be this question about, are you tough? Well, you're not tough if you don't try to run this guy over. Bull, I'm going to be tough for my family and stay on the field. That's how I'm going to be tough. Enjoy life better when you see better. Local vision service for LASIK, cataract surgery, and regular eye examination. Go to ccteyes.com, ccteyes.com. Look at me. I'm not wearing contacts. I'm not wearing glasses. It's incredible. And they're local doctors that care. So ccteyes.com. Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn. And also, you're doing the best thing for the team, Caleb, when you're bouncing it out. When you're getting down, when you're not getting hit, then that's the best thing for the team because you're still available moving forward, especially in the NFL.
I totally agree. It's the old adage in old British literature. You know, you don't go. You know, there was a difference between the hero who was brave because he had to be, and the hero who was brave because he was looking for trouble to be a hero. If you know what I'm talking about. And so
it's like that fellow Leonidas with 300. It was a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to protect my country, but I also kind of like fighting.
Yeah, exactly. Or Beowulf, the original, Odysseus. They were like, we want to be the hero, so we're going to be a little more reckless. Whereas, like, then there's the hero that, like, I'm the hero because I have to be the hero because the moment has call, but I don't, I'm not going to look to be reckless if I don't have to be.
I think every war, there's one of the sides that says, well, let's show them what we got, or, well, they don't believe what we got. They don't really want to be in it, but they're like, okay, let's do this. And,
I mean, if you read the book Gone with the Wind, not the movie, it's very clear that the Confederacy, half of them, they just wanted to go to war.